Hello, small group folks. My name is Dr. J Cardinell, and each week I offer a leader challenge. The first part of the challenge deals with some challenges you might face when preparing your lesson. The second part is a challenge to leaders as they lead their group. In this week's Explore the Bible lesson, we have the minutes for the first church business meeting. Well, not really, but you get my point. You see, in this lesson, we're going to see that there's some conflict in the church. There's a little doctrinal conflict over what it means for Gentiles to convert to Christianity. There's also a little personal conflict. Now, why do I say that? I say that because we're going to see in the lesson that they offer some helps and some suggestions to help maintain fellowship in the church. Our Explore the Bible curriculum encourages us to talk about dealing with conflict. And you may say, why is that important? Well, it's important because churches are made up of people, and people sometimes have conflict. Now, while your church might not be fighting over the color of the carpet, the methods of ministry, or the beat of the bass drum, we still have conflicts, and we still need to deal with those conflicts. When dealing with doctrinal conflicts, like they do at the council in Jerusalem, we should rely on what God's done in the past and what God said in His Word. When dealing with personal conflicts, we might not have those explosive fights in the parking lot, but we see that through furtive glances, rolled eyes, and hallway conversations. These are not the proper way to deal with conflicts or disagreements in the church. So our Explore the Bible commentary gives us some helps to deal with conflict. First, they suggest that we identify the kind of conflict. I want to take a moment and talk about interpersonal conflict. When deciding what kind of conflict are you having, it affects the way you deal with that conflict. Is the disagreement over something that happened recently? Maybe something was said or something was done, so it was a recent offense. Or is it a long-standing disagreement or a long-standing situation in the community that's just kind of seeped its way into the church body? You see, determining which of these we're facing determines how we're going to address the situation. But also, we got to think, is this a misunderstanding of motives? Sometimes that happens. People misunderstand motives. I share what I learned from one of my professors one time. He said, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between ignorance and malice. Sometimes people are acting out of a lack of information. That's what I mean by ignorance. They're not dumb. They're not ignorant. They just don't have all the information, or they don't see the fuller picture. They don't know really what's going on, so they're acting with a lack of information. So first, we identify the kind of conflict, and then we focus on the facts. All too often, when dealing with conflict, we traffic in emotions and conjecture. We let our emotions get the best of us, and we let our opinions misdirect us from what is really going on. We need to focus on what was said, what did happen, not what we think was said, and not what we heard happened. So we need to focus on the facts. Third, we talk it out. We have a conversation. Instead of talking about someone or talking about a situation, we go to the person who we're having a conflict with and we have a conversation with them. Fourth, when possible, find room for compromise. Sometimes the solution to a disagreement is compromise. Everybody's got to give up a little bit to find a solution. We limit our freedoms, we lighten the load of others, and we adjust our preferences. Sometimes the solution is compromise. When dealing with doctrine, we don't always compromise. We make sure we focus on God's truth and God's word, but in interpersonal situations, sometimes we've got to give up a little bit to find a solution. Lastly, when reconciliation is impossible, honor God in separation. Separation is not ideal. If we are following the Lord, if we're being led by His Spirit, if we're in His Word, we should be able to find a solution to our interpersonal conflicts. But sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes we've got to separate. Let me tell you what separation is not. Separation is not ghosting. Separation is not a church split. Separation isn't going out and saying, I'm done with those people and I'm leaving. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an amicable separation. Maybe you're in a small group and things just aren't jiving. Maybe you're kind of arguing about things and things aren't really the best way. Well, don't blow the small group up. Just maybe go find one that better fits your personality. If you're butting heads with somebody on a committee, the answer isn't to keep butting heads. The answer is to say, you know what, I think I might serve better in a different way. I hope you'll take a moment in your small group this week to talk about these things, because people in your small group, guess what? They're having conflicts. They're having conflicts in their families. They're having conflicts with other people at school. They're having conflicts at work. They're having conflicts in the church. So we need to think about ways that we can deal with conflict. I hope this helps you prepare for your lesson this week. I'll see you next week.